It is Monday, June 16th in the United States and Canada, and this is a show called What Chaos, presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code WhatChaos and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game in Boston, Massachusetts. My name is David Bean. I sit beside Pete Blackburn, and across the room is the great Sean DePaz. Sean, wellness check, my guy.
Appreciate it. Needed and not good is the answer. I want to die inside.
That could be in reference to several things.
Yeah, it can only get worse. My third baseman I guess I can't call him my third baseman. My DH gone for chump change. My German prince soon to also be gone for chump change. It appears it's terrible out here.
Yeah, I mean, I've programmed as many Buffalo Sabres and Boston Red Sox takes and topics as possible today. We're doing minimal Stanley Cup Final, so I can be happy. Pete, how are you?
I'm also I've been so angry about the Rafael Devers trade. It's incredible that a team that I loosely follow finds a way to piss me off this badly with a transaction like every handful of years. It's really impressive, especially in a sport with no salary cap in which they print money.
No, but we got soccer players to pay. We got soccer players to play, you fucking losers.
I think
goddamn broke boys.
I have a friend who's a Liverpool and Yankees fan, and I was like, today must be your fucking Christmas.
Fuck that guy, respectfully.
I mean, John Henry needs to sell the team.
All of them. Every team that he owns.
Every team that he owns.
Except for, you can keep the soccer team. I don't give a shit.
But, or rename the ownership group.
This is What Chaos, by the way, presented by Prize Picks, your favorite hockey show. I think that when Rafael Devers started shooting his mouth off about what positions he would and would not play, John Henry, the owner of the Boston Red Sox, said, my fucking guy, I love this. I can trade him now. And people will say he was a bad attitude. And he had a bad attitude. And the Red Sox won 5 games in a row. And he was like, they won't care. Watch me trade this guy. And now we got people doxing the general manager. You seeing this?
Breslow?
Yeah, Breslow's like addresses being posted in there. Like, you think that Craig Breslow did that, folks?
I mean, this is a consistent theme amongst general managers through the Boston Red Sox. Is clearly ownership driven. And where have I heard that before? It's imagine rooting for a team whose ownership fucks up everything.
I had Coley Mick, of all people, probably had the best take on this, and it was a hockey take. He said the reason they gave so much money to Rafael Devers was because John Henry got booed at a Penguins game. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
When he got booed like very heavily at the Penguins game, and then like a week later they signed the Devers extension.
Was that at the Winter Classic? It was at the Winter Classic.
It was at the Winter Classic.
The Bruins were playing the Penguins. Yes. I got it. Okay, Pete, we'll do some hockey today. Tell the folks what it'll be.
Today on the show, we are going to talk about it's Cup Week, baby. This is the last week of in-season shows.
Cup is in the building this week.
The Cup is in the building this week. The Cup has been in the building the entirety of the playoffs.
I hate that.
It hasn't been?
No, I mean, it's literally on the table.
Our
literally on the table. It has been for the duration of the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's Cup Week. It's going to get handed out this week, no matter what. We'll discuss. We still believe that it could go to the Edmonton Oilers. An unlikely hero. Who's that?
I got thoughts. I'm going to crown a champion that will not be receiving the Stanley Cup this week, but I think is owed some attaboys.
Okay. I'm interested to see who that is.
Yep.
Jeff Marek is going to join the show. Our pal Jeff, we love him. He's the best. We're going to talk about some of the Stanley Cup storylines, what we've seen through 5 games, all that good stuff. And then finally, Rafael Peterka. Sean's 2 boys, they're dead.
We're going to fucking bookmark this show with the absolute worst thing that's happened to me in the last 48 hours.
This could be the worst week of Sean's life.
I mean, it
so
will
far.
be, yes, but
Job's
also there's the hater part of me that's like, I'm getting new enemies this week, and that part's a little fun.
Okay, well, let's begin with the Stanley Cup Final, shall we? And we have Game 6 tomorrow. The Panthers have the opportunity at Amerant Bank Arena to clinch their 2nd straight Stanley Cup championship. And boys, there's already an episode out where we talked about Game 5, and that was just a smothering. They smothered your mother and told their sister that they loved her, to quote NWA. And Oilers, awful in that game. We expect some sort of bounce back, but the Panthers have outclassed, overmatched, whatever you want to call it, Edmonton for most of the series. We can agree. So I will ask rhetorically, is it over? And then answer for the Florida Panthers and say, I think so. Because I think the Florida Panthers think this is donezo. Are you getting any of that?
I know that you get it. I don't think so. I think last year taught them quite a bit about getting 3 wins means that you have not won the Stanley Cup. What I will say is it did feel over to me during Game 5 because they just absolutely killed them. And then after the game, I did see that they gave the game puck to Vitek Vanacek.
Yes.
Backup goaltender who has done jack shit during this playoff run.
That's not true. Don't disrespect Vitek Vanacek like that. He was playing mind games. Playing mind games.
Little gamesmanship before Game 4?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, when you're giving game pucks to the backup goaltender who has not seen a second of ice time during these playoffs, I believe. Did he play at all?
No.
Okay. Not a second of ice time during these playoffs. If
Bob was good in the first 3 rounds.
If you're giving game pucks to that guy, I feel like you're just trying to check some boxes before you win the Stanley Cup.
Exactly. They think this is over, and that is fine. But, and when you said that you think this is over, that's crazy to me because it very well could be over. I was the only person that said after Game 4 this could end in 6 either way. But
I didn't say it's over. I said it felt like it was over. It's the first time
it
I
also
had that
felt like it
feeling.
was over. It also felt like it was over after Game 5 of the 2nd round against Toronto, and that was a much more convincing, oh my God, this is over. And what happened the next game? Florida went home, could clinch, and lost to the fucking Maple Leafs.
Sure.
So I'm not saying this is
sure,
over.
but after that Game 5, I believe that we all came into the studio the next day and said, this is over. It's going to be over in 7. Like the Leafs are absolutely going to win Game 6
to set up the most embarrassing thing
Yes.
possible. Okay, and then the other piece of evidence that I have to suggest I'm not saying like they're getting ahead of themselves or whatever, but like just they have the feeling that like we're doing this, we're winning the cup, which is great. There's absolutely no problem in having that. But the Matthew Tkachuk, oh my God, like holding people, being like, don't do anything. Don't expose yourselves. Like, let's not screw this up after they went up 3-0 in the 3rd period. I was like, you do that in a clinching game. You do that in a clinching game. So if Edmonton wants any sort of bulletin board material or something, they've got these clips out there. I would say more score on the power play, but who am I?
I still push back against the Tkachuk thing because it came after Marchand scored that unbelievable goal in which you walked Jake Wallman. So like that to me was the reaction.
I've seen that reaction before, and it's not been, oh my God, what a goal. Like the grabbing your teammates and like trying to settle them down. Brad Marchand's done that on the bench before when they were about to win the Stanley Cup. And it's like, oh, like guys, like let's just settle. Let's just keep it cool for the night. Let's have a good bench. Let's keep our heads on here. That's what that was. So they think it's over. Do we think it's over? You said it felt like it was over after 5. Now you're feeling a little more. Oilers can do anything. Anything can happen. Here's what I will say. In the first 3 minutes of games, Florida is outscoring Edmonton 2-1. In the first 12:30 of games, Florida is outscoring Edmonton 7-3. In the first 20 minutes of games, Florida is outscoring Edmonton 10-3. As I said, this has been a series in which there has been a better team. Through 2 games when it was 1-1, and people were like, oh man, Edmonton could be up 2-0. it should have been tied after 2 games. It was very, very close through 2 games. In the games since, it has not been as close. Florida has been the better team. They have consistently come out with better starts, and they've just outplayed them for longer stretches. There's a big stat going around about the time leading in the series. I've got a much better one than that. There have been 15 regulation periods in this series. Florida has led after 10 of them. How many periods has Edmonton led after in this whole series? Regulation.
I mean, I feel like it's a trick question. Maybe it's like a 0, but it's 2?
1. After the first period of game 2, Edmonton led 3-2. And that Leon Draisaitl power play goal is the only thing that has Edmonton even saying they have been leading after a single regulation period in this series. This has been Florida's series. And yes, we think that at some point there's going to be a McDavid game. But at some point, what's that?
Said running out of time.
And you would think.
Yeah.
You would think, yeah.
Running out of time, you would think. The two things. And then at some point there's going to be a Bob game, though. You would think. I think it's more likely that there's a McDavid game than a Bob game. But what if both happen at the same time? And McDavid only gets 3 points in his McDavid game. And Bob plays well enough that those 3 points are the only things that get behind him.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, we talked about it after Game 5. Like, it just feels like the Oilers have been chasing so much of this series. And, like, honestly, for a better part of this playoff run, they've been chasing a ton. Not in the Dallas series, because Dallas was insistent on giving up the first goal in every fucking game in these playoffs. So, like, they got a perfect matchup there where they didn't have to chase the games. But, yeah, it's just felt like if Edmonton's going to come back in the next 2 games, they have to control play. And they have to be able to kind of lock it in defensively and structurally. And they just haven't had an opportunity to do that because they just haven't had leads.
Yeah, and the like I said after Game 5, they kind of got what they were doing to other teams, where they're not leaking a drop in the first period, and you come out of the first and you're like, how many shots on goal did the other team even get? They didn't do anything. Yeah, Stu made the saves that he needed to, but it's not like he was making unbelievable saves. I talk about Bob in this series the way that I think that at points we were talking about Stuart Skinner in previous series, where the numbers are great and he's definitely on his game, but it's not like he was getting his ass kicked back there. So Florida was going to be their best opponent. Edmonton was going to be Florida's best opponent. I think that both have been true so far, but Florida has just been the better team. I don't think it's over, but this is just where we are right now.
I feel like we keep coming back to the same conclusion with every series that Florida plays. And it's just like they are in a different class. They're in a different tier, and it is very difficult to beat them. You had a fun stat. I have a fun stat about the Edmonton Oilers. At 5-on-5 through this series, who leads all Oilers with high danger chances for at 5-on-5?
Connor Brown. I mean,
the answer will surprise you.
Kasperi Kapanen.
No.
5-on-5 chances. High danger chances. I'm thinking of people that I guarantee have had some.
I mean,
Jeff Skinner has had a couple, but it's not Jeff.
It's not Jeff.
Evander Kane.
It is a person who plays with Jeff Skinner. Trent Frederick leads all Edmonton Oilers with 9 high danger chances at 5-on-5 in the Stanley Cup Final.
And this is what makes me push back against certain advanced stats.
You don't want to know who's fourth? Jeff Skinner. Like 20 minutes of 5-on-5 ice time in this series is fourth with 4 high danger chances. That is crazy.
Not amazing. Not looking great. Before we get to Jeff, I want to talk a little Brad Marchand. Should the Bruins have just signed him? He was willing to give them a compromise, famously, in the week before he was dealt. And
my answer has always been yes. From the say, like, even when they were like, we won't come down on what Brad Marchand is asking. I was just give Brad Marchand what he's asking for. And I know that might be bad business, but who else are the Bruins paying?
Right.
That was always my thing.
The only thing I will say is that, like, I feel like this is a prime opportunity for a little revisionist history. He was not as dominant as he is right now.
He was injured.
Yeah, so like I understand there being a hesitation to pay him as much as he was requesting at the time, but holy fuck, does it look bad now?
It's not revisionist history when I said it at the time.
Well, no, I'm not saying you. But
My
I'm
reaction
saying,
was fucking give him the money.
I know, yeah, I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, from the Bruins' perspective, it was. I don't think it was. We don't want Brad Marchand to be a Boston Bruin. It was we don't want Brad Marchand in his current state to be getting paid as much as he is requesting, which is slightly more understandable. But like I said, looks way worse now.
But
okay.
Bruins, Red Sox handshake, like the decisions on who to pay and who to give their money to, very questionable and weird at points. Like, how many times have we seen the Red Sox trade away somebody like Mookie Betts? Let's just throw that name out there because they don't want to pay that guy.
Just so they can turn around and
just
pay
so they can turn
Rafael
around
Devers
and
then
kind
trade
of
him.
counteract the negative reaction by handing a shitload of money to somebody else just for kind of fan service. Like, who are the Bruins going to give?
David Price over John Lester. Like, didn't sign John Lester when he was like, I'd like to be here.
But David Price was a very good player as well.
The difference is
but
that
they had decided
they gave the money to somebody.
The reason they didn't sign John Lester was because they had made a rule about signing pitchers over 30. And then when it worked out so poorly that they did not sign John Lester, they said, all right, we're changing the rule. We're going to go sign David Price now. And it's like, you could have just had John Lester for a lot cheaper, and he's probably given you that playoff performance that David Price.
I was going to say the only thing is that, like, if you pay Casey Middlestat fucking Brad Marchand money and then he wins a Conn Smythe, then it's hard to say you should have paid Brad Marchand.
Okay, I said that I wanted to discuss a hero. Don Sweeney should be Brad Marchand's hero. Don Sweeney saved Brad Marchand from himself. Brad Marchand was considering the fact that he would be traded, but he was going to do what he could to stay a Boston Bruin. And in February, AFP Analytics projected Brad Marchand's contract at 3 years times $7.79 million. The Bruins would not give him that. The Bruins wanted to give him something. They would give him 3 years, but they wanted to give him something closer to what he was making at the time, which is $6.125 million. Famously, Elliot Friedman reported that in the week before he was traded, Brad Marchand called a meeting with the Bruins and said, I'm ready to compromise. I'm going to lower my ask on the AAV if you'll raise what you're willing to give me, and we will meet in the middle. Brad Marchand said, I will compromise. The Bruins said, we will not. They would not give him that compromise, which, let's say, would have been 3 years times $7 million. And Pete was yelling about it. I was yelling about it. Just give it. This is not going to be a bad contract. Even if in the third year he's not quite as good, it's going to be $7 million, cap going up, all these things. Brad Marchand would compromise. The Boston Bruins would not. So they trade him to the team of his preference. And now Brad Marchand, after being willing to take less money, after being hurt, after being on a team that was going nowhere, is now rejuvenated, playing the best hockey he has played in years, which factually would not happen in Boston because the Bruins were not going to make the playoffs. He is in line now for a 4-year contract at something like $8 million per. He has made, let's say, $10 million easily thanks to this move. And let's not forget, he's going to be an Olympian next year. And that was, to put it lightly, no guarantee.
Yeah.
Don Sweeney did so much for Brad Marchand by not being smart about that contract.
100%. 100%. Huge favor. It all works out in Brad Marchand's favor. I mean, you didn't even mention one win away, like he's one win away from hoisting a Stanley Cup and perhaps being the Conn Smythe. Like, not only is he making $10 million easy more than he would have, he's also, people are now locked in on him being a first ballot Hall of Famer or at least a Hall of Famer. And this has been a huge, huge legacy series for Brad Marchand. So Yeah, that man should send Don Sweeney an edible arrangement, and I'm going to steal it off of Don Sweeney's doorstep.
Okay, not done with Brad Marchand talk. We'll bring in Jeff Marek in just a second, and I'll tee him up on a Brad Marchand one. But first, let me tee you up on the fact that the Florida Panthers can win the Stanley Cup at home for the second straight year. And when we were there last year, seeing those Panthers fans crying, it really was something to see. Panthers fans, that could be you if you get to the game with Vivid Seats.
Oh, like crying tears of joy.
Yeah.
Oh, you just said Panthers fans crying.
They were crying.
They were,
like,
yeah.
They figured they were happy.
Do you think they cry if they win it this year, or do they act like they've been there before? Because they famously have.
I think you could cry. You would do,
year.
Can't believe this is my life. That's the crying.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if the first one I would cry, the second one I'd be like, fuck you guys. Dynasty time.
Anyway, Vivid Seats is the best place to get your tickets for any game or show. They have the best selection of seats, a 100% buyer guarantee, and they are the only ticket marketplace that rewards you for every purchase. For a limited time, our listeners can use promo code CHAOS30 to receive $30 off their first Vivid Seats purchase of $300 or more. Just click the link in the show notes or download the Vivid Seats app and use promo code CHAOS30 for $30 off your first purchase of $300 or more. And that's not all. Vivid Seats is giving away free tickets every week. Check out the exclusive Game Center in the Vivid Seats app and play trivia about your favorite teams and artists for your chance to win. When it comes to playoff hockey, being there is all that matters, so experience it live with Vivid Seats.
Also, the playoffs are winding down between the NHL and NBA, so you still got a little bit of time to hop on Prize Picks and put together your lineups that are going to win you some extra cash. Cash in on the basketball playoffs or the NHL playoffs with Prize Picks. You can just put together a lineup, pick more or less for player props. Super easy to use. Just download the app, create a lineup, and you just pick more or less few player props. You can go up to 2,000x your money. It's crazy. Prize Picks puts their members first. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money as quick as in 15 minutes, and they offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more. Super duper easy. So sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discount select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. So download the app today and use code WhatChaos to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. But one more time, download the app today. Use code WhatChaos to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Okay, let's bring in our dear friend from the sheet, our favorite show. It's Jeff Marek. Marek, how are you, buddy?
I am very well. How are you today, gentlemen? Oh, by the way, can I tell a quick story to kick off today's guest appearance here on the show?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay, so was upstairs before I came down here to, first of all, supervise the first 20 minutes of the program. Well done.
Thank you.
Done. Chum the waters nicely for the remainder of the show. And I said, oh, when the coffee's ready, can you bring me one downstairs? Great picture of me, by the way, that he got on the show. He looks like I'm falling asleep. I like that. She says, what show are you doing? And I go, oh, I'm on with the What Chaos Boys. She goes, that's a Dog Zamboni, right? I'm
yes.
Like, oh, you know it. It's the Dog Zamboni show. Let's go.
The branding is strong.
Yes.
It's still my favorite. It's still like one of my favorite things in all of hockey, not just like in hockey podcasts. The Dog Zamboni the Zamboni dog rather. I guess Dog Zamboni works too. It's still one of the best things.
It's great imagery. We've now
awesome.
named him the What Mutt, which is the
like
what
that.
for What
Yeah.
Chaos and the Mutt because all dogs are created equal. Okay, if you're the Florida Panthers. Do you just re-sign Brad Marchand at this point? I've had him gone getting top dollars somewhere forever because he's just at that point in his career. But if you're the Panthers and you have the 32 ranked prospect pool in the NHL, according to The Athletic, are you like, what? Do we just keep these guys? Like, do we just bid Aaron Ekblad adieu, figure we can try to recreate that in the aggregate and then bring back Marchand and Bennett?
So there's a few things here on Marchand. That was a really good conversation about that you guys talked about with the Boston Bruins and Sweeney and Marchand coming down off of his ask as Elliot reported last week. Okay, let me back up here. The only reason we're having this conversation is because Brad Marchand got traded and he's doing these things that Brad Marchand is doing right now. And I still would have Sam Bennett as my Conn Smythe winner, but you can make a strong case for Brad Marchand as well. We'll see what happens in the next game or maybe 2 games if Edmonton can turn things around tomorrow. He wouldn't be doing this with the Boston Bruins. Like the reason he's set up for but right now, if you're a Boston Bruins fan, if they had re-signed him, you'd feel good because emotional leader, spiritual leader, all that. He's our guy. He's our captain, fumes of the past, 2011 Stanley Cup and all of that. But he's doing this because he's on the Florida Panthers. And is he in line for a massive payday? Yes. I just don't know if it's going to be from the Florida Panthers. And here's why. The Florida Panthers have done a really good job identifying players that are undervalued elsewhere. Like, as much as we look at the Florida Panthers and say, oh, look, it's a team that bases all their decisions on how hard a player plays and how gritty and how tough they are. And they sign guys and pick them up off waivers and make trades for guys that have stones. Like, these are Florida Panthers players. That team doesn't do anything without consulting their head of analytics, Sonny Mehta. Like, Sonny Mehta here is one of the best kept secrets in the NHL. Bill Zito doesn't make a move until consulting his. I know this is an argument that was like over a million years ago, but I was having a conversation. I wrote about this in my blog today. I was having a conversation with the manager last week, and I said, if you rank the teams that base their decisions on what their analytics department feels about those players, how would you rank the NHL? He said, number 1 is the obvious. It's the Carolina Hurricanes. Like, and we all know that. And he said, number 2 will surprise you. I said, why? He said, it's the Florida Panthers. Nothing happens without Sonny Mehta saying, yeah, we should do this. So I am very much of the feeling that if they move on from Brad Marchand, that's fine, because in their mind, and Carolina's this way too, and we saw this, last year, letting all those players walk and they still get to the Eastern Conference Final, they can find someone to replace him. Just like I don't think that they would be, entirely put out if Aaron Ekblad ended up going to Utah or ended up going to Dallas or Toronto or wherever else he's sort of rumored to go, because in their minds, they've done it before and they can do it again. They can identify and they can bring in the guys, whether it's Gustav Forsling, who's, an ultimate example. Sam Bennett was someone who was not working at all with the Calgary Flames. They have that ability. This is, as much as it looks like an old school eye test team, this is one of the most progressive organizations in the entire NHL. It really is. That's why I think if Marchand's going to go and chase the money and he's going to get paid, I just don't think it's going to be with Florida.
Yeah, we all know he's going to Utah.
Utah Mammoth. Pencil it in.
Yeah. Okay. Let me throw another one out at you then. So one of the other teams that was really hot on Brad Marchand at trade deadline, I mean, it didn't really matter because he wanted to go to Florida and that's ultimately where he ended up going, were the Dallas Stars. And if Jason Robertson is gone, if they move him, try to recapture the capital that they lost making the Jason Robertson move, would it surprise anybody if the Dallas Stars, once again, tried to bring in Brad Marchand? Wouldn't surprise me at all.
He would have to change his name to Marshantonen, and then they would sign him. He's not finished.
Right.
You have to be Finnish. Yes, I know. The Finnish mafia there. Here's one more thing on Brad Marchand. So I was thinking about this on the weekend. I'm really curious your thoughts on this. So just in the salary cap era, okay, we're all fascinated with the third line in the Stanley Cup. Right, your third line is where you win Stanley Cups. The top 6 is all going to wash. You're going to win the Stanley Cup based on your third line. I've always maintained the best third line that I've seen in the salary cap era is Anaheim 2007. So Sammy Paulson, Travis Moen, and Rob Niedermeyer. Now you can also look at Coleman and Gourde and Goudreau with the Tampa Bay Lightning and say, hold on a second here, Mr. 2007 Anaheim Ducks. And then we have Lundell Luosterainen and Brad Marchand.
What about HBK?
I was going to say,
okay. Yeah, I know. And throw Pittsburgh in there as well. Okay. We'll throw HBK in there as well. I don't know how to order those 4 now. I don't know how to organize those 4. I really don't.
It's definitely the Rushmore. Like if you're looking at Mount Rushmore third lines in the
lines, that's
cap era, that's got to be it. Some order of that. So yeah, I mean, I'm firmly of the belief that the third line is kind of what separates the good from the great. And
Yes.
it's been
Yes.
great for the Panthers during
Yes.
this postseason. Did want to ask you, through 5 games, and DJ had this question, it's a great question. Do you feel any differently about the Panthers or the Oilers versus how you came into the Stanley Cup Final?
I am more impressed with the Panthers than I was before, just because staying on top is harder than getting there. Right? Staying there. It's the Rocky story, right? If you're not hungry, you won't eat. Marvin Hagler used to always have the great line. It's hard to get up at 5 a.m. to do road work when you're sleeping in silk pajamas. And I always thought that was from my favorite boxer of all time, the marvelous one, Marvin Hagler. It's tough to stay on top. Now, the Florida Panthers, and it was actually, Glenn Sather, the old Oilers general manager, who used to always make this point. In order to keep things fresh, you have to change 15% of your team every year. No matter what, you win the Stanley Cup, doesn't matter. You can't keep the band together. Now, that was in the era where you could, because there was no salary cap, and a lot of it is done now out of economic necessity. But, and again, this goes back to the previous point. Like, you look what the Florida Panthers have been able to do by way of identifying and have guys fit into this team. And it's like, fuck, guys, it's like an Olympic diver into the water. Like, there's no ripple. Like Seth Jones, right? Who's just like floundering and just like, oh man, my career in Chicago for how long? Like, all of a sudden, this is the Seth Jones that we were talking about, maybe going first overall, coming out of Portland. And could he be better than Nathan McKinnon and Alexander Barkov? And Brad Marchand, the correct. No one's talking about the injuries. No one's talking about, double hip surgery for Brad Marchand anymore. No one's talking about formations. It's all of a sudden, who's going to give this guy 8.5 times 3? And someone probably will. But like, they identify and get guys into this lineup so seamlessly. And this is like, they've already been to the buffet once, right? They're already, they're already on like their second turn, actually in this case, third turn back to the buffet. So I'm even more impressed at the Florida Panthers, and even coming off what Paul Maurice talked about last year on the ice after he won, and he talked about the other teams and the other players around the league that he wants to experience this. Like, he wasn't talking about like, and we're going back for more, and we're gonna set records. Like, no, it was like, I want everybody to experience this. That's how great it is. I don't know. This is a long-winded answer. I'm more impressed with Florida than I have been before. Now, watch Edmonton rip off 2 in a row, have a parade in the City of Champions, and we'll just pretend this interview never happened.
Have you felt there have been trends? Anything? I mean, we've talked about the staggering stat of the Oilers have led after one regulation period this series, and that obviously the starts for Florida have been insane. But we went into the series with the rule of no takeaways because both of these teams have just had too many. To say ups and downs would make it sound like they're bad teams, but just like both these teams have proven over the last 2 seasons and postseasons that absolutely anything can happen. Have you watched this series and felt like, okay, I've learned this about X and this is going to happen now? Because like going into game 6, like I don't want to ask you what do you think happens because I don't want any of us to look dumb.
Yeah. Well, here's the one thing that I know about the Florida Panthers, and I haven't felt this way about a team since the Babcock Wings. And that is, they are the masters of one of the things that I think is the hardest thing to achieve. And they do this as a team. And that is the 1-minute penalty. So Mike Babcock's team would set casual picks all the time. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of technically it's interference, but it's not egregious. And man, it's the playoffs and you're an official and you don't want to call that because it doesn't feel like 2 minutes. But if we had a 1-minute penalty, I'd call it, but it doesn't rise to the level of 2 minutes. Panthers are there, but it's not just like interference. It's everything. I don't know that I've seen a team consistently hit that target of what we do, shift in and shift out. If there was a 1-minute penalty, we'd be called every shift. And that all just accumulates throughout the game, right? Like, it's one tiny little thing here in the first shift. And then a couple of shifts later, it's another one. And then by the time the third period rolls around, Edmonton is pulling their hair out, and everyone that plays against them is pulling their hair out because it's been an accumulation of 1-minute penalties, and you're frustrated as hell. The other thing that I know about, let me know what you think about this one. I think that Corey Perry could play on the Florida Panthers yesterday. Like, could you not see Corey Perry playing on this team? I think we all could. So now what I believe, because we've seen Corey Perry go banana sandwich a couple of times here, right? I think this is for the first time in his career, Corey Perry knows what it feels like to play against Corey Perry. He really, really doesn't like it. And that's what Florida is serving up. And it's fascinating to watch Corey Perry realize, man, I'm miserable to play against. This is what it's like playing against me. I don't like this. Now I understand how everyone's felt for the last 20 years in the NHL. Man, I'm awful to play against.
It's the Spider-Man meme.
Spider-Man.
If Spider-Man realizes, like, that's an ugly motherfucker, like, that's pointing at me.
So does that mean that next year Corey Perry is going to retire because he just feels so bad about his history, or is he going to come back as therapy Corey Perry for a stretch run?
Ooh. You know what I wonder about with Corey Perry? Like I've wondered, like, if the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, if he just calls it, pieces out on the career, ends on the ultimate high. Like, I've always had this like dream that I want some player to do this one day. Like, when they retire, take their skates off at center ice, leave them, and walk off. Like, just do that, and just like the shot of like the skates beside the cup as skating, walking off into the sunset. To me, is just a gorgeous visual. But Corey Perry says he wants to keep playing. It would be kind of cool if Corey Perry ended his career where it began, because the Anaheim Ducks are going to spend like crazy this summer. We know that. Could you not see Corey Perry finishing it in Anaheim?
I would love that.
He would look so funny in those bright ass orange.
Yeah,
uniforms.
man.
It is so funny that the Ducks rebranded to be like, ooh, we're a fun, vibrant group. And then they just trade for all the surly old guys like Jacob Trouba. They get Gudis. Now they got Kreider. If they get Corey Perry, it'll look like those guys, old men wearing weird young kids' costumes. But I'm for it. That would be a great story. You love a great story. That's what I've gathered.
And a visual.
I just cheer for stories.
On your 1-minute penalty thing, as you were saying that, I was like, that's not even to mention the Marchand goal from game 5, in which he is at the blue line with the puck before the puck has been dropped off the faceoff. Which
it's so close. It's so close to being blown down, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like as soon as the puck is about to be dropped, was it Podkolzin? He's jumping on Podkolzin. Like he's jumping in there fast. Again, like you're right. Like that's another example of the 1-minute penalty. And if there was a 1-minute penalty in the NHL, man, Florida would be filling the box. We don't have it. So Florida is the best team at getting away with it. And you'll watch it tomorrow. You'll see it so many. Once you sort of get your head around the idea of a 1-minute penalty, you'll see Florida doing it all game long. They are the masters of it. And it's a skill. Like, honestly, it is a skill to be able to walk that line and not rise to the level of a mind. Now, you step over sometimes, certainly, but like consistently, like they're the masters of this thing. And masters of the 60-second penalty.
That's what we were saying after game 3. Like a reason I don't golf is because when I'm golfing with the average man who golfs, they slice it into the woods and they're screaming and they're swearing and they're cursing themselves and everything. And what they don't realize is they're not good at golf. Why did they expect to hit it straight? Why are you mad? Why are you like, you're just not good at that? The Oilers after game 3 are doing they don't get called for anything. And every time that we do it, we get called for it. Yes, they're good at it. You're not good at it. You're doing it next to an official after a play. They're looking at you do that.
Being on the same way about golf too. Like I am awful, like to the point where like, just don't call me. I'm terrible. I don't have a good time. I'm bad at it. I always say, and you feel free to steal this one. You don't want me there because the best 2 balls I'll hit is when I step on a rake. It's all downhill from there, man. It's all downhill from there.
You know what Stoff says?
Second best golf quote that we've heard.
You know what Stoff says?
What's that?
He says, I want grinders, not golfers.
That's how he builds his teams. Such a good line.
I love stuff, man. I love Bob Stoffer.
Off the trends thing, like I feel like the only trend or big grand takeaway I've kind of come away from the series with is that Edmonton is so much more volatile than Florida is. Florida is the most stable team that we've seen. And yeah, that's like an easy thing to say when they're the reigning Stanley Cup champions and then they're one win away again. But like this team never gets too high or too low, whereas like Edmonton is constantly like the pendulum is swinging hardcore back and forth. Like, do you feel like Edmonton's too volatile?
I think as I'm hearing you describe this, Pete, the one thing that I'm thinking about, okay, so what's the basis of stability for a hockey team? Your goaltender.
Yeah.
Like Bob's there. Bob's got it. We're good. I can cheat a little because Bob's got it. I can do this because Bob's got it. And in the back of your mind, if you're an Edmonton Oiler, you're not saying that about either one of your guys. Like, let me throw this one out at you. The last team to win a Stanley Cup when the goaltender had a sub 900 save percentage was who?
That would be
not Colorado.
Colorado, right? I thought Kemper finished below.
No, he was
he like 902?
903 or 902.
People were like Kemper's bad, which like but like he wasn't so bad. Not I want to say Binnington just to make people furious.
Nope.
But
not true.
He was indeed above 900. Would that give it to me? Oh, would it be Corey Crawford?
No, it was that one you would think.
Yes.
But no, and it wasn't even Antti Niemi in 2010 either. Or Michael Leighton on the other side when the losing cause for the Philadelphia Flyers in the Stanley Cup Final, we say that had the worst two goaltenders in it. What are you guys doing in 1988?
Being born. I was listening to Injustice for All. Just doing stuff like that.
Nice. I was in the sack getting hit with rakes on the golf course.
Grant Fuhr, 1988.
Wow.
Damn.
That was the last time.
Yeah, but that was like a good save percentage in 88, wasn't it?
He had it in 88. It like honestly, you could get away with that. But in the new age of goaltending, like the Allaire Waugh era, and since you win the Stanley Cup, your goaltender's got a 900 save percentage.
So what you're saying
that's not Edmonton.
So what you're saying is when the Oilers get a sub 900 goaltending performance, they win the Stanley Cup.
That's true.
Like it.
Well, it was Grant Fuhr. I don't know if you want to give Grant a call now and say, can you rekindle the magic? You got 2 games left in you, Grant. But technically you're right. But that was before the goaltending position changed too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Like this wasn't until like what?
No,
I was gonna say off the stability and goaltending thing. Do you know off the top of your head when the last time a team won a Stanley Cup with getting just one goaltender throughout the entirety of the playoffs? Because Sergei Bobrovsky has played every second of the Florida Panthers run this year, and
it feels feels like a Marty Brodeur stat to me. Who would not surrender the crease to anybody. It
like
feels
2003
like
or something.
Stat.
Yeah.
That's what it again. That's what it feels like.
You're a
look like Bob even Bob's had a couple of clunkers along the way, but like the team shakes it off. Like they're fine. It's Bob. He's going to be fine. I think like all of your stability comes from how good your goaltender is. Like Ned Harkness, used to the old Detroit Red Wings coach from the 70s used to say, we need to change the name of the game from hockey to goaltender. Because at the end of it, like that's all that really matters. Why are we calling this thing hockey? Let's just call it what it should be called. Goalie. That's the sport. That's it.
I do think, and now we'll do the goalie thing, but like I do think that not that goaltending is overrated or anything, or not that it doesn't matter, but there is some irony in the fact that on the night Connor Hellebuck is awarded the Hart in a video in which he is fishing. Calvin Pickard and Stu Skinner are willing the Edmonton Oilers with pretty fine performances to a win over the $10.5 million goalie in the Stanley Cup Final. So I do think that it isn't the end all be all, but you're very thoughtful, and I was putting a lot of thought into how the Oilers do their goalie thing after Game 4.
Yeah.
And I know that you're not a big Stu guy, but my thinking was maybe I ultimately landed on go with Pickard in Game 5. But my concern was if you go with Pickard in Game 5 and then you have to turn back to Stu after a Pickard loss, you're saying, Stu, get out there on the road. We've yanked you from this building in the last 2 games. We didn't play you in Game 5 because we don't think you're the guy. Versus if they had just gone back to Stu for Game 5 and won that game, then great, you got 2 chances at winning the cup. Or if he loses, throw Pickard in for Game 6 and it's the backup goalie on the road and you're trying to look for some spark. How did you feel about it, and how do you feel now?
I think that, first of all, you got to let go of feelings in the playoffs and not worry about, if I'm going to offend my goaltender, what is this going to mean for next season? Like you can't think like that. Like this is like, who are we going to get the best performance out of tonight that's going to help us win? Listen, I didn't necessarily think they needed to go back to Pickard. I thought that it would have been fine going back to Skinner. Having said that, I think now they need to go to Skinner. But even then, I still think it's jump ball. All I do know is if the Oilers win the next 2 games here, I'm going to be happy for one, maybe both of these guys. Like, I love the Pickard story, the guy who has never quit. You guys have talked to a million hockey players and they'll all tell you the same story. Hockey will always give you a reason to quit. Every player will have a reason every season to quit. So many guys have been given reasons to quit, right? Calvin Pickard's another in that long list. I'd be really happy for him. And I'd be really happy for Stu Skinner too, because he's heard it about his performance that, the Oilers win despite their goaltending, despite Stu Skinner for so long. I would just like that to sort of shake off of his back. And have his name on the Stanley Cup. Do I think that's going to happen? Jeez, I don't know, man. Florida's just been completely smothering the Oilers here, and it kind of makes me feel like we're not talking about Gustav Forsling enough through all of this. Like, one of the big stories here is just how the Florida Panthers have just blanketed the Edmonton Oilers here, and I think Gustav Forsling's a huge part of it. But nonetheless,
more like a wet blanket because he's always on the ice. That guy lies down a lot.
He does lie down a lot.
What are you implying here, sir? What are you trying to imply about Gustav Forsling?
No, it works for him, but it drives me crazy when Darnell Nurse lays out. Yet when Gustav Forsling lays out, it works every time. I'm like, fuck.
I know. Listen, I get it. Like the one egregious one, like the one, right? I get like the Nurse one was bad, but that Evander Kane cross check in front of the net. I'm always amazed. I've made this point countless times. Everyone probably sick of me saying this. I didn't go past grade 11 physics, so I didn't get to the part where they talked about what happens when you put blue paint on ice. What happens to gravity? Apparently, it just becomes that much more profound, and it just becomes that much stickier, I suppose. And players just fall down more naturally because the gravity is just stronger. I guess I didn't know all you had to do was put blue paint on ice, but there it is right in front of us. I never went past grade 11 physics, though. I'm always amazed at how players all over the ice are really strong and can stand and withstand like cross checks and slashes and everything. But put them anywhere near a goaltender and tap them, and somehow gravity is more profound. And you really see
there have been some very fun dives in this series. Like I think that Evander Kane dove on that trip in Game 5. The best one was Bob.
Yeah. Speaking of blue paint, Bobrovsky had the best dive. Almost concussed himself on the post.
That would have been so funny. Such a funny concussion.
If they call diving, if they call diving on it, like if they call embellishment on that one.
No, if he had to leave the series because he threw his head back
what a
and hit it against
Oilers
the post.
fan we have rooting for head trauma for Sergei Bobrovsky. That's how down bad he is.
I mean, I think Bob was rooting for it.
But Bean's got a point, because like that was an ST plunge. Right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
that was a complete ST plunge. I honestly, when I watched that, I thought, okay, 2 are gonna go here. You're gonna call the initial, and then you're gonna call the goaltender. I was stunned. that they didn't call Bobrovsky on that one, because the one thing the officials don't want, like, it's like, look, just don't embarrass us. Don't flail. If you're gonna go down, okay, fine, but don't do like the arms out to the wide. Like, don't go down like a starfish. Don't go down with the legs and the arms and everything. Like, don't draw attention to it. I understand players are going to embellish, borderline dive. I think the officials just don't want to be humiliated in the process. I think
they've
that's
humiliated themselves enough during the course of this Stanley Cup Final. I know it's a hard job, but they've sucked.
But here's the thing. It's not as if like there's like a secret like room full of like the better referees. Like, first of all, like, it's not like, okay, they keep it like the good referees locked up. Ha ha ha! You get these guys instead. We'll show you, hockey fans. Aha! And I am king. Curtain. Like, it's not like that. My main takeaway from all this is, again, the game is too fast to call with the accuracy that people want. It is. It's just too quick a game right now. Again, like I always say, we're sitting here. Like, I watch TV either in my office chair or from the couch and call penalties. Like, I always tell people, like, you want to know what it's like go to a game and run up and down along the play as it's going on and try to call it. And you may make the point too that, listen, all of the officials are on the ice, which may be the worst place to try to call a penalty, considering how many bodies there are moving in concert at an accelerated rate of velocity right now. I really do think that we're at the point now where we really need to consider if this is a real problem to people. And I'm not necessarily saying that it is a major problem. If we want to have a different style of game officiated, for me, it's still fine. For me, I'm still fine with having the human. I'll tell you what, the best thing that I ever heard, which really turned my, because I used to be one of those like, F the referees, F this, F this. I remember playing beer league one night and I got called for some penalty and I was going to the box and yelling at the referee on my way. And the referee said, I'll never forget that, he goes, "You want better officiating?" And I went, "Yeah." He said, "We should be a better player then, because at your level, this is the officiating you deserve. If you want better officiating, go up a level. That's where the better officials are. But right now, I'm as good as you deserve. So get in the penalty box." I had no comment.
You can't really respond to that.
Of all time.
A+.
I'm like, yeah, and I'm a hack and you're a hack, and I guess we're just sort of stuck with each other here, I guess.
I agree with you. Like, I like the human element of it. The thing that's bothered me the most, I guess, during this playoff is that players will play up to the threshold that they're given. And I just feel like the threshold has been changed too much. And it's resulted in a lot of inconsistency.
It's always going to be that way because nobody looks like, again, you can maybe take this all the way back to the creation of the two referee system as opposed to the one. When you had the one referee making calls, you had a feel for the game and you knew where the line was. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, it's a two referee system. I understand, because the game is a lot quicker. And now we're starting to talk about consistency. No one's going to call the game the same way. Like, if you two guys were official, do you see that you have the same eyeballs? You have the same background? Like, you're gonna call different penalties.
You know what the solution is?
What's that?
The NHL has to hire more twins. Have to hire more twins to be referees. You will get the same DNA, the same genes, the same all of the. Keep it consistent across the board. Problem solved.
That's an awesome idea. That is a fantastic idea. Stephen Welcome likes to recruit, guys that play in Europe, play Division I. You got to be able to skate. You got to be able to keep up. No, just go for twins. Stephen Welcome. Right. Memo to Stephen Welcome from Pete. No, you gotta recruit. You got to recruit twins. It's not a bad idea.
And twins.
I was gonna say, like, it's the sponsorship sells itself. You do and twins. There you go. Amazing. All right, Marek, you rule. What do you have on the sheet today?
Pierre Maguire and I will be talking about the final. We'll be talking about trade rumors. We'll probably be talking about Brad Marchand. We'll probably talk about the latest scuttlebutt around the NHL and what to expect at the draft. By the way, you want to talk about reading the room perfectly? At the Combine 2 weeks ago, whenever Brady Martin of the Sioux Greyhounds, whose stock is rising quickly, was asked about players that he compares himself to, Sam Bennett, Tom Wilson. Music to every man. I'm like, this is marketing. Now, he is that style of player, but went out of his way. Like the Florida Panthers effect, you will see at the draft. Make no mistake about it. Guys that play that way, Kashawn Aitchison is another one, defenseman for the Barrie Colts, will go higher than they normally would, just based on how the Panthers are succeeding right now in the NHL.
Shitheads are in.
We love Brady Martin. I was talking to a very bright young man named Evan Marinovsky, who I think is New England Hockey Journal, but he has a great Bruins podcast, and I would highly recommend you chat with him someday. He watches all these guys just like you do, and we were talking about Brady Martin potentially for the Bruins at 7 if he's there. And he brought up a point I haven't heard anybody make on Brady Martin, which is Brady Martin might be Sam Bennett, as everybody wants him to be, but how did drafting Sam Bennett with a top 5 pick actually work out? Because it took Sam Bennett getting to the right situation where he could be a really good third or second line player, and then he kept ascending and kept ascending, and he's amazing now. But ask the Calgary Flames how drafting Sam Bennett worked out.
I'm glad you brought this up, because there's 2 pieces to it. There's the drafting piece, and then there's the other piece, which we always forget about, and that's the development piece. I know managers always get roasted. Oh, you missed on this pick. You missed on. It's not that the scout misidentified. Was that second piece there? Was that development piece there for that specific player? And so many managers and scouts get roasted on draft picks, and it's not the pick, it's the development that fell down. It's a really good point. It really is.
Okay, I think we still want him to go to Utah.
We want everybody to go to Utah.
I want everyone to go to Utah. If Marchand will shepherd him so well.
If Utah keeps the pick, that's the other one here too, right? Could Utah move down? Can they just flat out trade the pick? To me, Utah might be the most interesting team at the draft. If they keep 4, who are they taking? Will they flip with someone who wants someone at 4? I got all these, and again, you just get carried away with stuff, and you think about okay, the Pittsburgh Penguins are 11. Kyle Dubas loves Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds players, or they may try to make a trade with Utah. The Penguins move up to 4 to take Brady Martin, and then I think, okay, well, Porter Martone's dad is from Sault Ste. Marie, and Kyle Dubas put Porter Martone on the World Championship team, so the Penguins try to jump up to try to grab Porter Martone. These are the things we occupy ourselves with in advance of the draft, and then you know what happens at the draft, guys? Everybody makes their pick, and everyone goes home. Happens every year.
You had me at Utah as the most interesting team. I think we all agree there.
They are.
We love them, and we love you. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks, boys.
You're the best.
Go Zamboni
Talk soon. It's the great Jeff Marek, and maybe I don't know if he'll be in Edmonton for a potential Game 7, but if he is, hopefully we can see him and make more lovely content with him. But obviously, check out the sheet. It is but a perfect program. And I've listened to Pierre Maguire on that show. We're like 2 for 2 on pro Pierre Maguire.
I've always said Pierre Maguire, very, very good listen. I did not love him between the benches, but every time he stepped out of that role, I really liked listening to him a lot.
And even that was overstated. I definitely understand if different broadcasters are for different people. So if people didn't like Pierre on those games, I was like, that's fine. He doesn't upset me. People are going to be talking. They're going to be saying stuff anyway. And half the time you're just kind of watching the game instead. Okay, we hit Marchand. We hit the Stanley Cup Final. Let's discuss JJ Peterka. Sean, it's looking more likely that the Sabres move him. From Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts. Quote, it's believed he would like to go somewhere else. No shit. And I just think that the reality is sinking in a bit, I'll add, for the Sabres. I think the Sabres realize they have to at least look into it. And I think in the last little bit, it's gone from we don't want to do it and we're not doing it to we don't want to do it, but we at least have to look into it. Now, if you don't know who JJ Peterka is, he is a young wing who is an excellent player, a top player on the Buffalo Sabres, who would be a top player on a lot of teams. AFP Analytics says that in his RFA status that he could sign for, or he would be worth 7 times 7.98, or if you go shorter, 4 times 4.62. We've been hearing since the deadline because people were talking about the Rangers will go after him. This team will go after him. Seems that he's unhappy there. Elliot is saying as much. Sean, how do you feel about the growing likelihood that JJ Peterka, John Jason, 25 years young, I want to say, 28 goal scorer, could be on the move?
I mean, it's kind of how
23 years old. I'm sorry.
It's kind of how I felt about Rafael Devers to a certain extent, where like there's a part of me that's like, if you don't want to be here, get the fuck out. But also like Rafael Devers is going to end up being a Hall of Famer, and it's going to make me want to die. It just seems like prime Sam Reinhart territory. Like he's going to leave and he's going to be amazing. Ultimately, it depends on what the return is. As to how I'd feel about an actual trade, but I don't like it. It's just another in a long line of like, yeah, the Buffalo Sabres suck and players don't want to be there.
Much like the Red Sox situation with Devers, it's, the player doesn't want to be there and is raising a stink or whatever, and then you can say fuck the player when he gets shipped out of town. Good riddance. Don't want him in the room. Locker room cancer. Whatever you want to say. But part of the reason that the player wants out is because of organizational ineptitude. And that has plagued the Sabres for so long. This is another chapter. And I get like bailing on them is not going to endear yourself to the fans or whatever. But like at the same time, does anybody really blame JJ Peterka? If you were if you were not tied to Sabres fandom, you would also probably want out.
Yeah, my only thing about it is like, why, like, I'm trying to think of a nicer way to say this, but like, who does he think he is? Like, if Tage Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin aren't banging down the door requesting to get out, and I get that he's an RFA, so he's kind of got a little more flexibility as far as that's concerned, but like, you haven't been on another franchise, you haven't been in the league that long, like for you to say, and like it seems like the Sabres are actually for once trying to make moves in the right direction. Like this is the most stable they've been in JJ's tenure as a Buffalo Sabre. So, like, those things are tough pills to swallow. But, yeah, in a vacuum, I don't blame anyone for not wanting to be on the Buffalo Sabres. The team hasn't been in the playoffs in 800 years. Like, that's I don't think JJ Peterka is sitting there and is like, I don't want to become Rasmus Dahlin, who's now however many years into his career and hasn't sniffed the playoffs. Like, I get that he wants to get paid and be locked into a good team. I understand all of that. But it's a tough pill to swallow.
I have a couple of thoughts on this. One is I cannot shake the vision and the experience of the Sabres trade JJ Peterka, get a 2026 first-round pick back in the deal, and all year we are on the blank pick watch, where let's say it's from the Rangers, where we're watching the Rangers pick, and where is it going to be? What odds are they going to have in the lottery? And we are going to have this looming idea that between that pick and possibly Buffalo's own, they could be in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. That would be interesting. That's one thing. The other thing is, if the Buffalo Sabres trade JJ Peterka, suddenly the Buffalo Sabres have come into a lot of money, and they become very interesting players in the offseason. If they trade JJ Peterka before the draft or before July 1, they've already got 23-point-something million in cap space. Suddenly, you don't have to subtract 8 of that for JJ Peterka, and now you've got all this money, and you got these young defensemen, and suddenly you are players for whoever you want to overpay for. And I'll add that in the Sabres' current position, they kind of are in the spot where they can go overpay somebody, because it's not like you've got player X who is due for his Rasmus Dahlin deal next year. They've signed a lot of those young guys to those long contracts already. Power's already signed up. Obviously, Dahlin is already signed up. Norris is signed for quite a while longer. Tage is signed up. So you are in kind of position, if you want, to give Mitch Marner a call, or to give Sam Bennett a call, or to give whomever, or to save your money for next year and make a run at somebody big.
Like Jack Eichel,
obviously.
A couple of things is, first off, like as Elijah in the chat brings up, if you're trading an unprotected first round pick for JJ Peterka, I think you're an insane person. So there's that. Secondly, the Buffalo Sabres should not be trading for draft picks, even if Gavin McKenna is somewhat in the realm of possibility. They need to be trading for NHL players. And so again, it ultimately comes down to like what the return is. If they're trading him for a Jason Robertson, it's a little different story. I saw someone bring up Natchez. It's a commonly held belief that Natchez had an opportunity to sign with the Buffalo Sabres and didn't want to. So like I don't think that's happening. So like that's the other thing is like you alluded to, you're gonna have to overpay anybody if you end up in a situation for signing a free agent, and if you're trading for another RFA, it has to be someone that's going to be willing to sign in Buffalo, and that seems like a relatively short list. So I don't really know where they go from here.
I want to know what Peterka wants. Like, I want to know why he wants out. Like, he has a big role in Buffalo. He's produced in Buffalo.
Seems like he just wants to play playoff hockey.
Yeah, maybe.
Which the Sabres aren't that far away from on
that
paper.
Part I agree with you with. Like, if you're bailing on them now, it seems like an interesting time to do it. When and I know it constantly feels like the Sabres are going in the right direction. Doesn't always mean that they are going in the right direction. But yeah, I want to know what he wants, and that will answer some questions for me. You mentioned Necas, and not wanting to be in Buffalo. Does that guy want to be anywhere? Every 90% of every rumor that comes out about Marty Necas is this team wanted him, but he didn't want to sign there.
I mean,
so where does he want to be?
All I'll say is that like you not wanting to sign in Buffalo or Winnipeg, I don't think qualifies as you being a particularly picky player.
Carolina, Colorado, like where we are.
No. Carolina, that was more. Carolina wasn't sure about him. In fairness.
Yeah, like
it wasn't. He wasn't sure about them. It was they weren't sure about him. They didn't want to give him a big contract.
I don't know, but regardless, as far as Buffalo Sabres are concerned, I don't think Marty Necas is in play. Like I think from all sides, if the Dallas Stars are serious about considering moving out Jason Robertson, like that's a move that makes sense. It gives JJ something that he does not have in Buffalo, which is a legitimate chance to win a Stanley Cup right now. The Bills or the Sabres get back like a quality first line player, which is what I think they need to be. That or like another RFA who's willing to sign in Buffalo, like Marco Rossi or something like that.
That also too, like that contract projection for Peterka would essentially just wash and further extend what they have with Robertson at that price. Correct?
Yeah.
Like right now, Robertson's around 7.5,
I think.
So like it would basically just be piece in, piece out. You get a little younger. I would really like that deal for both sides, honestly. Peterka and Robertson being swapped.
I like Robertson or Dobson or like as long as you have the obviously nothing is guaranteed until you put pen to paper, but like as long as you have the guarantee that this player is going to sign long term, like it needs to be another young player, another young like NHL ready top 6 forward or a right D.
I think that you boys raise a good point on where the Sabres actually are, because I think that if you change the colors and the crest and just gave it a different uniform and different name.
If this was Utah,
and you said okay,
they're ready to pop.
There's a pretty young team. They've got a number 1 defenseman, one of the best defensemen in the league, signed forever. They've got another young defenseman signed for a while. They've got a young center who's going to be there for a long time. They've got like the pieces are in place. It's just they're not so deep. They have some of the boxes that if you're building a Madden franchise for hockey, NHL Madden, they've done what you'd be doing there. All right. How does that sound? Yeah, that sounds cool.
I mean,
the Sabres.
Them missing the playoffs last year, again, outside of the fact that they're the
and they've got
Sabres,
a goalie.
Maybe.
I think they got a goalie.
Might have 2 goalies. We just don't know. Do you have 2?
They might have
2
none.
goalies. Do you have
one?
Any goalies?
Because that's another thing. Is there's definitely a desire.
So if you don't have 2, you don't have 1. It's like
there's definitely a desire in Buffalo for them to acquire like an actual NHL goalie, because we have yet to see Devin Levi show that he can be an NHL goalie, and it was quite the letdown for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen last year. So maybe he'll be good still, but it's not an ideal situation. There's plenty of things. Buffalo has very obvious things that they can fix. How they go about fixing them is a different question, but like it's clear what they need to do. Losing JJ would hurt me though, personally.
Especially if he goes to the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, fuck the New York Rangers. If the New York Rangers want to do that, whatever. You guys suck. Like you're there. Do the New York Rangers, are they in a better situation than the Buffalo Sabres right now? Because I don't think that's.
I would say they're in a significantly worse situation, minus the goaltending.
Yeah, I would agree. So like, if he wants to go to New York, enjoy. Bon voyage.
I would rather. I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't have an interest in being a Rangers fan. I would rather be a Sabres fan though than a Rangers fan. Right?
I wouldn't. I have no interest. The Rangers annoy me.
Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting take for this show. Okay. The pissing match between the Tampa Bay Lightning and Isaac Howard appears to be reaching its end. The Michigan State forward is not going to sign his entry-level contract in Tampa, and it looks like things were trending that way. Hobie Baker winner wanted from the murmurings, kind of red carpet rolled out, and the Lightning said, not what we do. And Isaac Howard said, not where I'll sign. And now we've got a Hobie Baker winner up for grabs.
Does that even count as red carpet though? Like from the murmuring, it sounds like he just wanted the first year of his ELC bought.
I mean, that was
happening.
That's pretty common. Yeah,
that was happening to everybody in college hockey this year. This guy won the Hobie Baker, like first round draft pick.
Yeah,
and Tampa is just like we don't do that.
Well,
but how many of those guys are first round? Like we don't do that to Kucherov. We don't do that to Vasilevsky. We don't do that to blah 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 blah. First round pick, like a game done changed.
Yeah.
Now you just lost your first round pick because you wouldn't like sign his ELC and burn a year. You have room on that team. Like you could use Isaac Howard.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a weird position to take and camp yourself into. They can run the team however they want to run the team. They've obviously been very, very successful. Julien Brisebois, by all intents and purposes, a good general manager. I'm surprised that they would not make that concession for Ike Howard.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird to me. Let's end on a very positive note, which is that per Andy Strickland, he says that he is hearing defenseman Dante Fabbro and the Blue Jackets have made progress on a long-term extension. Now, the Blue Jackets have to figure out what's going on with Ivan Provorov. They've got some cash to burn if they want to. I love Dante Fabbro finding a long-term home after the kind of weird ending in Nashville to go to the Blue Jackets on waivers and be a really, really good partner for Zach Werenski. And now 26 points, a career high in just 62 games for the Blue Jackets. 26-year-old first-round pick. He was drafted, I want to say, a pick or 2 or 3 after Charlie McAvoy. That's who the Bruins were picking between when they took Charlie McAvoy. And this guy obviously has not become the star player, but he's become a serviceable, good NHL defenseman. And you saw who did the Blue Jackets reward? Matthew Olivier. They're rewarding their guys after this season, and I absolutely love that. This was obviously a very delicate, special, and unique season for the Blue Jackets. I like that they're rewarding the guys who showed well during it.
I agree.
For Dante Fabbro.
We'll have to see what the deal looks like.
I can't imagine it's going to be huge money.
I can't imagine. And either way, good for Dante Fabbro. A real nice kind of redemption and rejuvenation in Columbus. I love the fit. So this is all good news to me.
Sean, give me the slate if you would. Nothing on Monday, June 16th. We've got 1 or 2 games left in this NHL season. The movies might be on the table for me. I think I might need to peep that new Dakota Johnson vehicle.
Materialists. I do want to see that very badly.
I do want to,
Movies
especially now because Pete's planted the idea in my head that it's not what you think it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that? What can that mean?
Well,
it looks like a rom-com, and
Right.
Dakota Johnson has been doing interviews saying, like, save the rom-coms. There's nothing wrong with being a rom-com. And then Pete says it's not going to be what I think it is.
Thruple.
But it's a throuple movie?
I don't know. I'm just saying. That's my guess.
I don't think that's what it is. So if it's not
That's
what I think it is, then maybe it's that.
exactly. I was trying to go a little off the board.
I don't know what it is. All I know is that we had the same takeaway. We saw the trailer and we're like, oh, looks like a standard rom-com.
Yeah, love triangle. This person ends up with that person.
You were like, I bet I know exactly how this works out. She ends up with this guy, not this guy. And one of the first reviews that I saw was like, hey, if you have this preconceived notion about materialists heading into it, you are going to throw that away very quickly.
I did see some there was no spoilers.
Everybody's
I don't really know
gay
what
in
they
it.
mean, but a lot of discourse about like people not getting it.
Oh,
So-
like a
Love
movie
that.
like that.
So I mean that intrigued me a little bit.
It's like 3 Billboards.
Never saw it.
People had strong reactions to it,
Mm.
and then there was
You're not
Well,
allowed to
you
have
don't
bad
get
people in movies. Every character has to be good.
the movie.
Like the actual
the
character?
movie 3 Billboards ends with a person kind of having been abandoned by everyone else, turning to team up with someone that she knows is not a very good person. And people watched the movie and were like, because the protagonist ended up doing stuff with this bad person, they were saying that this bad person is good. And then people had to be like, you didn't understand the movie, folks. So maybe that's what happens in this.
Maybe as Stacy in the chat is saying, Pedro and Chris end up together.
Oh, hell yeah. I would ship the hell out of that.
That would be very
That'd
good.
be hot.
Yeah. People do ship Pedro Pascal and various people.
I'm a couple. I
Well,
need
yesterday was Father's Day, and he is the ultimate daddy.
true.
Yes.
I need to fast forward a couple of weeks. There's a handful. I just want that F1 movie to come out. I want the other Pedro Pascal, that Pedro Pascal and Joaquin Phoenix movie to come out. Like there's
Eddington, yeah.
a couple I'm looking forward to.
I need a Sunday night show.
I'm
Like,
back.
I miss the fucking Sunday night HBO
I saw a
experience.
tweet about that was like, I am lost in life without an a Sunday night HBO show to watch regularly. And I was like, yeah, when was the last
It's-
time that happened? Like Insecure?
Well,
Oh, no, Last of Us.
Last of Us. Even though that's not really like much of a safety
And you're weak.
comfort blanket.
And you're weak.
It is the bleakest blanket.
And do people watch that live?
Yeah. And I mean,
Nice.
White Lotus before that, like there's been a solid run of HBO shows. Feel a little lost without
Just
it.
go to the theaters on Sundays. Like I said, I didn't say this on the show. I went to 2 movies yesterday.
Yeah. I should.
The whole
Oh,
the-
you did a double feature?
I did a double feature. I started with Phoenician Scheme. Pretty
How was it?
distracted by the Wes Anderson experience for like the first 5-10 minutes of the movie.
I could imagine.
Once you get into it, it was a fun movie. It was a good
was.
movie, and the Unholy Trinity was just a good old western. There's not much more to it. It was just a western.
I watched half of the Paul Dano, John Cusack, Paul Giamatti film Love and Mercy last night.
The Beach Boys.
And then I was a little too sleepy, so I didn't finish it. But it's a good movie. It gets you charged up for all the right things, which is hating Mike Love. So everybody check that out. It's a good way to remember the late, great Brian Wilson.
Oh, I did see. I kind of got this idea. Julie in the chat said there's a lot of short guy slandering materialist, and I did see that one of like their promotional pop-ups in the theater was like, "Are you really 6 feet tall?" And it had like go stand to measure your height.
Well,
I get-
okay.
yeah.
I get it because
Sounds like liar slander.
Dakota Johnson plays
Yes.
a matchmaker in that show,
Yes,
and a
and-
lot of it is commentary on the.
How
From what
materialist
I understand,
people are.
it's commentary on like how picky people are about things that don't really
Yes,
matter, like
yes.
height or blah blah blah. Height.
Hmm.
So yes, I could understand why that would be have a central portion of the show. Whether or not the movie backs that commentary is yet to be seen, and that's what I will judge it on.
How tall are the fellas in that movie? Both. I imagine Chris Evans is a big guy, but I honestly don't know.
Everybody
how
is
tall
short in
Pedro
Hollywood. That's what people forget.
Ding, 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 ding. Breaking news. Yes, that is true.
Yes.
Famously, Kiefer Sutherland is short.
Pedro Pascal,
And,
5'11".
Freddie Prinze Jr. was pissed about that. Remember that?
No,
Freddie Prinze Jr.
in
will
24.
shit talk his time on 24 if you will listen to him. And said that Kiefer Sutherland was a big baby. He said Kiefer Sutherland made Freddie Prinze Jr. do his scenes with him barefoot so he wouldn't look so much taller than him. And
That's hilarious.
I probably had many thoughts on that over the years. As I say it now, I'm like, people stand on boxes to do TV and everything. Like,
Shout out Darren Pang.
shit like that happens.
It also would be like
Relax, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Sometimes it can be very distracting on scene if the height disparity is so egregious.
Yes, exactly. Breaking news: the Oilers are fighting back. They said this will not stand, Mr. We're giving our game pucks to backup goalies, per Ryan Rishaug, and I've got the video to prove it. The Oilers haven't had anyone in the middle of stretch all playoffs. You know what I'm talking about? The end of a skate or a practice.
Mhm.
Someone leads the stretch. Today, Max Jones gets the center of the circle and a cheer from the group.
Reeks of desperation to me.
That is so. That's the thing. Like when the Panthers are giving away a game puck to a goalie, you're like, that's bad behavior because you clearly think you've already won this thing. And then when the Oilers say we're going to have one of our scratches lead the stretch, you say that's bad behavior because this seems like a very desperate move.
For what it's worth,
Copycat league.
I had a different read on both the Tkachuk and the Vanacek thing.
Give it to me.
I just think the Vanacek thing was like every goalie in this series has gotten some attention.
I thought that
Here
too.
you go.
Yeah.
I mean, he got his attention when he did the pregame thing. When he
this is them acknowledging him for that.
Yeah.
This is
but he did get his attention. Yeah, I think
from the national media, but not from the boys. Not from the locker room.
I'm saying sustained to Pete's objection.
Thank you.
There. That was a coherent and well thought out blah 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 objection.
I think I might go see
Thank you,
Materialist
Judge.
tonight.
Overruled.
I think I'm gonna go see Materialist tonight.
Fuck
You
yeah.
want to see Material? I actually
Group outing? I want to go see Materialists.
do we want to do the three of us? I have hyped up Materialists so strongly to someone who has not seen Materialists, and they are not available to see Materialists tonight. Be an unbelievable movie.
I mean, going to see Materialists with the boys
The
is
fellas.
such a cool idea.
we would definitely get whatever
Rom-coms are back. We're going with the boys.
Do we get the Materialists bucket that they have?
Do they have one?
The Materialists drink that they make?
It's a popcorn bucket. You know how all popcorn buckets are horny now? It's
Yes.
just a popcorn bucket with 3 holes in the bottom.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
to share with the boys.
Yes.
But they're not the holes that you would think.
No, they are.
It's different.
They're
It's
glory
different.
holes.
It's a twist. It's not your average rom-com. Okay, folks, make sure you are subscribed to the show. I saw somebody suggest in the comments to get us to 17K on YouTube by
Hell yeah.
by Friday. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty great. Let's get to 17K by the end of the season. It's crazy the season is so close, but it could also end tomorrow. So let's hurry up there. Get your friends. Share anything that we post on the socials. We appreciate you.
Hell yeah. Amplify, amplify, amplify. Subscribe. Like this video. Thumbs up button right below the video player. You can also buy our merch. The link is in the description below. You can comment on our videos. That helps very much as well. And if you're on audio, thank you to all the people who have given positive reviews on Apple Podcasts because they are flowing in. We have pushed back against the Greg Cody slander. Please continue to do that. Leave 5 stars, a nice little review. We very much appreciate it. And any way you can support the show, we will love you for it.
Let me see some of these.
There's some good ones.
Best all-around hockey show that's funny and these guys know their stuff. Lots of great guests. I stop any podcast I listen to and throw these guys on. Every time I listen to them, I feel like I'm hanging out with the buddies. The hosts are very knowledgeable about Jeff Skinner, which is rare for a podcast like this. The Boys Know Puck. Great show. Each episode feels like a chat with friends about the best sport. I look forward to each episode. The banter between the guys is top notch, and their genuine love of the sport shows. They have incredible guests, take time to discuss important recent news and relevant guests. I found them 2 months ago, and I've already learned so much from these guys. Gotta give them their flowers. All these seem like real, sincere, nice ones. I'm not getting any jokes out of these, which is fine.
Yeah.
Famously, this is a hockey podcast. White Hat Guy is the best. The hosts are very knowledgeable about Greg Cody, which is unusual for a podcast. Great.
Speaking of this being a hockey podcast, my goat, David Ortiz, threw a little shade at Rafi Devers, and I love it. Said no one is indispensable on a team. The only way to become indispensable is by doing things the right way, all the way around. You need to be available, and I think that marked the end of the relationship between Red Sox and Devers. You have to be smart. A player's worst enemy is his ego, and guess what teams do with your ego? They buy it. It's my goat. Someone tried to kill that man.
Okay.
Can't kill the goat.
That is famously someone tried to kill that man, and I don't know if you're aware. This has happened in the spring of 2019 that the David Ortiz assassination attempt occurred.
Maybe this was the source material for Materialists, because that was famously a love triangle.
It big time was. David Ortiz got shot, and Boston sports fans and people are gonna say, "Oh no, you're making this up." No, this happened. Boston sports fans were like, "Oh my God, is he okay?" He would be an incredible banner waver at the next Bruins game because the Bruins were in the Stanley Cup Final.
They did say that. He's not making that up.
I was like, that is hilarious. I wanted to bring this up because I looked it up earlier.
Being a guy that just got shot.
And because you asked it, I looked it up over the last team to win a Stanley Cup where their starting goalie has played every single game was the Tampa Bay Lightning with Andre Vasilevsky.
Andre Vasilevsky, 2021, he started every single game.
Did it in 2020 as well.
Did not. In 2021, he was a fucking monster. Yeah. So he won the Conn Smythe. And so, yeah, that answers that question. Okay. All right. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
We all silly like the mayor.